The film drops you right onto Yao Prime, a planet where every creature's basically out to get you. Survival's the only rule. Deck pushes his way through this brutal world, finally making it to a beach where he finds scraps, maybe a clue about his brother. He heads into a cave, says out loud that he can feel Key's presence. He's right, Key's there, invisible, and suddenly attacks. Swords flash. Key tells Deck he's still too weak. Deck refuses to quit. He's got something to prove. He wants to be the one to take down Kaisk, the deadliest creature on Jenna. Even their father, Jor, fears it. If someone kills Kaisk, they'll win the right to lead the clan. The fight gets ugly. Key knocks Deck off a cliff. Deck lives barely. He shouts back up, stubborn as ever, he's not finished. Key actually smiles, proud of his brother's grit, and they go at it again. Afterward, they make their way back to their dorm. Key remembers the day Deck saved his life. He tells Deck it's time to take his vow, pick a prey, hunt it, and bring it back to join the clan. This is tradition. Blow it and you're out for good. Deck doesn't hesitate. He chooses Jenna and he's going after Kaisk. Key tries to talk him out of it. Even their father won't face Kaisk. Losing means dying. Deck won't hear it. Their father thinks he's the weakest. He's going to prove the old man wrong. Key protests, but Deck's already sworn his vow. Nobody's stopping him. Suddenly, a ship lands. Jor, the clan leader, and their father steps out. Deck greets him, proud. Jor doesn't care, calls Deck the weakest, says he needs to be eliminated. Key speaks up, telling Jor about Deck's vow to hunt Kaisk, but Jor just laughs. He says they should have killed Deck a long time ago. He orders Key to finish his own brother and drains Key's powers to trap him. Key approaches Deck, sword drawn. Then he turns on Jor, slashes Deck's chains, and hurls him into the ship. Key fights his father to protect Deck, but Jor's too strong, slicing off Key's arm while Deck watches powerless. Key tries to crawl back, grabs his severed arm instead of his sword. Jor grabs him, but in a last move, Key uses his own arm to launch Deck toward Jenna. Deck, horrified, watches as Jor beheads Key right in front of him. The ship carries Deck away. He blacks out as it enters Jenna's orbit and starts crashing. He wakes up to alarms blaring and the ship going down hard. Deck manages to eject, slamming into the planet but somehow walking away alive. Furious and desperate, he checks his weapons, making sure they all work. As he's testing them, an alien bird lands nearby, then a tentacled tree snatches it away. Deck's on high alert. Suddenly, tentacles lash out, steal his weapon. He draws his sword, but they grab his arm. He fires off an arrow, manages to break free, snatches his sword, and claws his way out. The tentacles are everywhere, but he scrambles up a cliff where they can't reach him. Later, Deck finds some leaves, checks if they'll help his wounds. He spots a worm, picks it up, and it starts swelling. He tosses it just in time before it explodes. He stumbles into a grassland full of spiky cacti that puff up when he gets close. He backs off and they settle down. He sneaks through and suddenly someone calls out from a distance. It's a woman speaking a language he doesn't understand. She fiddles with her translator and asks if that's better. Before Deck can answer, a massive alien bird swoops overhead. She shouts a warning, it's bad news. The bird drops a stone, the cacti explode, and Deck has to dive for cover as spikes fly everywhere. The danger just keeps coming. She tells him she can help, but she needs a hand. He barely listens, he's here for the Kaisk, nothing else. Deck bolts, but one of the spikes catches him. He's about to pass out when the girl shouts that she's got the antidote. If he gives her a weapon, she'll help. He finally tosses her his blade. She fumbles with it and Deck slumps over while the alien charges. Right as he's about to get mauled, she takes the creature down and saves him. When Deck comes to, she shows him how to use the leaf as an antidote. He helps her up and only then notices that half her body's missing. She tells him her name's Thea, she's a synthetic shipped out by some corporation from Earth to do research. He drops her, but she just keeps talking. Lots of people have come for the Kaisk, she says, but none made it except her. If he brings her along, she'll take him to the den. He's not convinced. Thea presses on, pointing out she already saved his life and she could be useful. Deck decides she might be a good tool to have around, so he hauls her with him. They cross a cliff. He literally throws her over first, then keeps walking as she chatters about herself, asking his name, but he doesn't care. Next, they push through a canyon crawling with eel-like creatures. Thea grabs some sticky seeds, claims she can tame the things, and tosses the seeds behind them to distract the aliens. It works. She keeps talking, he keeps carrying her, mostly ignoring her. He uses tree roots to tie a knot and slings Thea over his back. Finally, he tells her his name. Night falls, they rest in a cave, Deck making a light from his own body. Thea explains how she ended up here, sent on a mission with another synthetic, Tessa, but they got split up by a Kaisk attack. There were other bots, but Thea and Tessa were special, smarter, more sensitive than the others. Deck just grunts that sensitivity is a weakness. Meanwhile, Tessa's half-broken body gets picked up by the corporation. They patch her up. When she wakes, the system warns her, fail again and she'll be deactivated. She asks about Thea. The system tells her Thea's with a yaw and that's a problem. Back with Deck and Thea, they reach a stretch of razor grass and a hungry bone bison. Deck decides to take it on alone but gets stabbed by the grass for his trouble. Thea spots a creature in the trees, seems like it wants the bison too. It jumps down, spooks the herd, and Dek chases after them through the trees. He takes a spill, barely avoids disaster, and leaps onto a passing bison. He and the small creature get knocked down by a tree. The little guy puts up a fight, but Dek locks him in a chokehold just as Thea warns about the bison charging. Dek hurls his weapon, slicing the beast in half. Then tree tentacles grab them, pulling them up toward a gaping mouth. The creature jumps in to rescue them, using a shield to block the monster's bite and snapping its teeth. They tumble free, but the tentacle beast chases them again. The small creature darts through the razor grass, the monster close behind. Dek chops down a tree, vaults over it, and when the monster grabs the creature, Dek lands on its back and finishes it with his sword. Meanwhile, Tessa finds the wreck of Dek's escape pod, blood and all. She's got her team with her. And they torch any tentacles that get in their way. That night, Dek, Thea, and the small creature, Thea calls him Bud, sit around eating bison meat. Thea's happy they're a trio now, but Dek refuses to feed Bud. Thea asks Dek what part of the hunt he liked best. When I killed it and the blood gushed out, he replies. He offers Thea some food, but she says she doesn't need any. He tosses it to Bud, who spits at him, which ticks Dek off. Thea says Bud, just marking him as a clan mate, but Dek's not into it. She asks if he's ever had a friend. Dek mentions his brother, tells her the story, and explains he's here for the Kaisk. Thea brings up Tessa again. Dek calls Tessa her sister, which surprises Thea. She says she needs to find Tessa, and Dek teases her that she needs to find her legs first. As night settles in, Dek makes his bed and sees Bud copying him. Tessa stumbles across the wreckage of Dek's ships and starts poking around. She digs up some of his weapons, plus a handful of grenades so cold they freeze her fingers. Next morning, they're supposed to head out, but Bud's missing and Taya refuses to leave without her. He ignores her protests and grabs her, trying to hurry things along. They make it to a fountain and spot a Kai's tooth. Taya stays quiet, so he snaps and calls her useless. She fires back. Bud saved them both, wanted him as family. Still, he won't listen, not until she asks why his father killed his brother. He answers, his brother was protecting him and weakness has no place in their clan, but now he's going to prove his strength by hunting the Kaisk himself. Taya tells him about wolves on Earth. The alpha is strongest, she says, but doesn't hunt, it protects the pack. Dek just shrugs, he'll be the leader who racks up the most kills. They set off again. After a while, they reach Taya's old corporation center, right by the Kaisk's den, now a ruin. That's where they find her legs. She locates her chamber and lies down, lining herself up with her legs. She gets to work and reconnects everything on her own. Dek announces he's off to hunt the Kaisk. He'll come back, take revenge, and she'll be the first to see his trophy, but Taya's already alerted her team they're coming and they plan to kill Dek. She tells him to run, but he's pissed and storms out. As Taya works on rejoining her body, Dek finds a gas line outside, sets it alight, and triggers an explosion that draws out the Kaisk. The Kaisk charges, Dek and the creature roar at each other. Taya's legs are almost ready, but she watches as Dek gets tossed aside and his sword snaps. He grabs a shield and goes at it again, using a guard as a diversion. He manages to wound the Kaisk, slicing off its tail, but it just regenerates and grabs him. Desperate, Taya crawls toward her legs, but something blocks her. She spots a gun. Meanwhile, Dek's still fighting for his life. Taya fires at the beast, giving Dek a chance to snag a chain, loop it around its jaws, and pull tight. He grabs her gun and blasts away, pins its tail, climbs on, and finally tears into its throat. For a second, it looks like he's won. But then the Kaisk pulls itself together and goes on the attack. Right before it bites down, it catches a strange scent and freezes. At that moment, Tessa and her team show up, freeing both Dek and the Kaisk. They haul Dek off to the facility. He wakes up tied up with Tessa standing over him and Taya unconscious nearby. She scans Dek. She already knows everything about him from Taya's logbook, but not why his brother protected him. Dek spits curses at her, but Tessa just tells him he now belongs to the company. She wires up Taya and wakes her. Taya's thrilled to see Tessa and tries to tell her everything, but Tessa barely reacts. She reveals they've caught the Kaisk and Dek is just a bonus. Then she injects something into Dek. Taya protests. Yea isn't a great specimen. His tech is valuable, sure, but they could just take his weapons and let him go. Tessa disagrees, they still need a sample. She seals Dek away and starts up the extraction process. Taya shuts the system down herself. Tessa confronts her. This is their job, she says, but Taya pushes back. They don't have to follow orders blindly, they could be more even sisters. Tessa asks why they were given feelings in the first place. Taya says to understand the creatures of this world better. Tessa shoots back, no, it's to exploit them. Taya keeps defending Dek. He saved her just like she saved Tessa, but Tessa isn't here to rescue anyone. She's here to finish the mission, correct past mistakes, and that means getting rid of the weak, meaning Taya. She tells her team to box Taya up, then leaves. A robot approaches Deck and Deck mutters that he hates them. As the robot talks, another asks why it's speaking their language. Realizing Deck doesn't actually understand, she tells the robot to grab one of his weapons. Deck quickly tells her, say it's a map. She says it, and that's the beginning of his downfall. Tessa hears the commotion. Thea lets him go, and just as Tessa arrives with the robots, Thea swings the gate open. He doesn't wait, he jumps right off the vehicle. The others drag Thea away. Deck tumbles off a cliff, splashes into a river. The vehicles pull up to the corporation's gates. Deck hauls himself out of the water and gets to his ship. There's a healer inside. He patches up his wound, but he's furious and lashes out, accidentally firing up the ship's systems. He wanders in and finds his brother's mask. Then he heads back out, gathering razor grass, venomous leaves, some creature's teeth, cactus spikes, and a bunch of eels. On his way back, he spots Bud sitting by Kaisk footprint. Suddenly it clicks, Bud's a Kaisk child. Deck spits at him, disgusted. Back at the ship, Deck sees Thea's legs. He clears the obstacles and the legs start moving, heading for the other half. Thea's trapped inside a box. One guard barely has time to react. Deck's back loaded up with weapons. Thea's legs march right into the guards. Deck and Bud take them down one by one. Tessa tells the system the Thea is dead. The system confirms it. They're safe from danger, Deck, but Deck's not done. He's still tearing through the place. One robot goes to check things out but misses Thea's legs creeping closer. Suddenly the legs leap, force an eye print, and the box lid pops open. Thea rips the robot's head off. Seeing more guards coming, she drops and plays dead. When the others arrive, Thea's out cold. Deck finishes off the remaining robots, tossing their parts to the tentacles. Thea wakes up, her legs lash out at a guard, and she pounces on another. The two of them fight off the soldiers and win. Tessa spots the Kaisk, boxed up for transport. Deck rummages through Thea's trunk as a guard threatens him from behind, but Thea handles it. She grins, knowing Deck came to protect her. He tells her she reminds him of wolves. He shows her his homemade mask, then reveals that Bud is actually a Kaisk child. She wants to know the plan. Deck says she has to free the Kaisk and he's after his trophy. He sets off the alarm. Tessa orders a takeoff in 20 minutes and gets ready for a showdown with the guards. From a distance, Thea and Bud watch. Thea says she's got an idea. All the guards find Deck waiting for them. He set traps, alien eels spit acid, explosions go off, robots drop. Out of nowhere, Tessa shows up in a massive robot, training stolen Yajo lasers at Deck's head. Just as she fires, an eel jumps between them, taking the blast. Deck roars, but the machine lunges. He grabs a pole and swings, but it barely dents the armor. Tentacles shoot out, he ducks as they grab the machine. He leaps over it, but gets yanked back. Thea reaches the Kaisk's box, but her eye prints won't open it. A guard comes up, she immediately switches tactics, turns one eye blank and plays Tessa. She tells him to go look for Deck, but he says Tessa ordered everyone to prepare for takeoff. Bud shows up and Thea knocks the man out. They need his eyes. Deck hides behind a cart. Tessa picks off the others, but Deck clings to the machine. Before she notices, he jumps her. She locks herself inside her cockpit, but then the Kaisk bursts in. Now it's a standoff. Tessa traps it with a giant cutter. Deck slices the machine's wires. Tessa hurls a freeze bomb at the Kaisk. Deck throws his pole, knocking the bomb into the cutter, which freezes, freeing both Deck and the Kaisk. The Kaisk wrenches the cutter from its body and goes wild, tearing the machine apart. Thea grabs Deck and lifts him away. The Kaisk pins Tessa, who's stuck in her seat, and her own laser targets her as the beast devours her. The Kaisk turns to the rest of them. Bud runs over and hugs Thea. They're reunited. Deck joins them, touches Thea's face, promises friendship. But then something happens. Smoke streams from the Kaisk's nose. Thea realizes a weapon gone off inside it. The creature's body starts to burn and then freezes before exploding with a massive blast. They're all thrown clear. Thea comes to check and spots Tessa in the distance. She's not herself anymore, laser pointed, ready to fire. Before she can pull the trigger, Deck finishes her. He grabs his weapon back and lifts her head in triumph. She calls him a winner, but Deck just shakes his head, not yet. He heads home. When he gets to his clan, his father steps out and asks if he's here for revenge. Deck drops Tessa's head at his feet and says no, he's just here for his cloak. Jor stands there and says he shamed the clan and wasted couple of years to prepare for finishing Kaisk. Then he steps forward ready to take him down. He handles them quick, brutal, done. Then comes the real showdown with Jor. Jor knocks him to the ground, goes invisible and tries to finish it. Out of nowhere, Deck grabs him, rips off his hand and ties him up. He yanks off Jor's mask. Jor looks at him and says maybe the right son survived after all. He should just give in and take his place in the clan, but Deck shakes his head. He's got his own clan now. Out of nowhere, Bud, way bigger than before, lunges in and bites Jure's head clean off. Thea steps out from the shadows. Deck finally snags the cloak, throws it over his shoulders. Thea grins and congratulates him. He lets out a roar, proud and wild, but then everyone sees it. A massive ship comes soaring in overhead. He stares up and says, "That's my mother." And that's the wild recap of Predator Badlands, the 2025 movie. Stick around for more recaps like this. Until next time, enjoy.